Good morning, Tom. How are you? Borida, IT.
And I am very well, thank you. All the better for this little portion of our Friday morning on a Feel
Well,
Good
thank you.
Friday. And it's there's still, I know I say it every single
Yeah.
week, but I'm amazed with the quantity and the quality of the sport that we have here in Pembrokeshire.
Well, nationally and locally, it's exciting times, isn't it? And
It is.
locally, the normal scenario years ago would have been this was a quiet time, but with the ladies and men's cricket indoors continuing apace, there's always 2 evenings of that, and there's a huge amount of interest in that, Tom. And it's great to see the ladies' cricket developing with Sam Rossiter, not only as the organizer but a superb batsman. More of that later, and there's still the rugby and football going on. There's all sorts of other things. The indoor arenas now make it possible for people to play badminton, table tennis, you name it, squash,
Yeah.
wall climbing. You'd be good at that.
I've managed to touch a ceiling before on a climbing wall, so I'm no stranger. Um, Bill, I was
I've managed to touch the ceiling once at home when I was painting it. Yeah, that's a nice. Mm.
um, Bill, there's in fact before we look at in depth at the local sports scene, there are some international things that I want to look at. So first of all, Wales have picked their squad for New
Mm.
Zealand. There's four wingers in the squad, and one of them is an untested place at fullback, Luis Rees-Zammit. What are your thoughts quickly on that one?
Well, he's a amazing rugby player. I was more impressed by him when he started than anyone for a long time. And I watched him play now in the English league, and he's got class. He is a class act. And I think you've got people like in New Zealand. Bowden Barrett plays outside half. He plays centre. He plays fullback. And I think Rees-Zammit will fit into that if he's needed. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other international thing I want to look at is Rob Page. In fact, just up the road from where you hail from, Tylerstown announced the Wales squad. A little bit of consternation that he hasn't gone for any new uncapped players and he's gone for the old guard. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but you've got to have new blood, and I just think he's erred on the side of caution. And sometimes you've got to take chances. I've thought the same with Southgate occasionally, but he has gone for a couple of people now, like Madison, and so we'll wait and see with Wales. We're as a nation, we're quick to criticise whatever he picks. If he left one of the old guard out, they say, "Oh well, he's lost." I think Downey-Weld is the thing, and they wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see. That is
And of
great.
course, I've been watching the cricket with great interest as well. I was delighted yesterday to see us thrash India because I really had doubts about that result. So they're
Yeah.
playing Pakistan now Sunday. I can't wait.
And of course, that game against Pakistan, that's the final, isn't it? They managed to
Yeah,
progress through to the end. Yeah.
that's it.
And
Yeah, they did well.
And of course, for those that might not know, it's officially England and Wales with that cricket squad.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, in the past there have been Welsh players. Tony Lewis springs to mind. Robert Croft, of course, played for quite a while. Yeah, there have been some good players who've gone through from Wales. Yeah, and Hugh
Brilliant.
Morris, who was a lovely man. He was the chairman of the English cricket team for a number of years, chief executive, and Hugh was a great character.
Yeah.
Still is.
And then closer to home, we've had Welsh representatives with Haverford County, actually, with the Wales C team, I think it was, Ben Fawcett. Well, they finally got 3 points on the road, Bill.
Yeah, that was great to see. I watched it on Scorio, and they didn't show a great deal of it, but the tackle that got the goal, they won a tackle, a guy stamped on one of
Mm.
the Haverford players, which gave them an advantage. The tide had swung their way for a change. So to win at Flint isn't easy. I mean, they're an experienced side. They've been around. They were fifth or sixth in the table. So that's a big win. Tony Pennock is delighted. But every week we say the same. This week's game is another vital one. And it is because they're playing Airbus from North
Mm-hmm.
Wales. Got promoted last year. At one time, they were regularly featuring in Europe as one
No
of the
way.
top three Welsh sides. Then they fell by the wayside and they're back, but they're struggling. At the moment, Tom, they're bottom of the table on minus 2 points.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
So it'll be interesting to see how they get on with that. Um, Jordan Davis penalty last week, giving them the 3 points. Let's see what they do this week. A couple of questions for you, see how much you know. I'll tell you their kit is all blue with white flashes on the sleeves. Do you know what the nickname of Airbus is?
Um, it is the Wing Makers.
Good boy, well done. They've always been called that for obvious reasons. They started out as a team, I think, in the factory where they made it. But so yeah, and they play at the Hollingsworth Group Stadium in Broughton. So It's a good pitch there, apparently. It's another one of these 4G pitches, and
Oh, nice.
Jamie Reid is their manager. So it's a big game for Haverfordwest, and I wish Tony Pennock and the boys every success.
Yeah.
Another win here could see them moving up to sort of 7th or 8th, and that would be nice. Although it's a banana skin, isn't it? We've got to say that.
It is. You get that relative sense of safety when you get 2 wins in a row, but it's still so tight in that division.
Yeah.
But I suppose also psychologically, if they don't get the points against Airbus, because it's a long way to travel, it's on a 4G pitch, which Haverfordwest only train on, although the Bridge Meadow is like a 4G pitch. It's beautiful down there. But psychologically, this is a team that has really struggled this season. To go up there with an expectation you're going to get 3 and maybe not get it, that's going to lead to another couple of weeks of disappointment, and it's gonna be really difficult to bounce back from that. So I really hope that they go there and come back with another 3 points. Looking at we'll stick with football. Looking at Division 1 football, what are your picks of the fixtures?
Well, this week there's only 3 games, Tom, because there's full action again in other areas as well. In Division 1, the top game, I suppose, is, well, not top, but top V, almost bottom, is Goodwick United are at home at Phoenix Park to Neyland, first versus 10th. So that's going to be a battle for Neyland, but they are a battle inside. But I don't think you will go much further than a Goodwick choice there. Great news for Neyland, because you know I'm like tipping. Just up the road then, Fishguard Sports 7th are home to St. Ishmael's 12th. This is a trying time for St. Ishmael's. They're leaking goals at the back, and in the end, that's another challenge for them to go to Fishguard and play there. And Kilgetty at home, they're 5th, and they're playing Clarbeston Road, who are 9th. So, if you go on form, it's got to be Kilgetty. It's a funny little thing, form, isn't it? You never know. And then Pembroke Robins are at home to Lycha Rovers in a postponed game from last week, the West Wales Cup. So that will be interesting as well. And then, of course, a really big game, and I know people say about Hakin, but what a team they are at the moment. They beat Trostray last week 4-0 away. Well, that's some performance. And they've still got to play them again next week. It's sorting itself out slowly. When they'll play league football's another matter. But this week, they entertain Holywell Town in the Welsh Cup 3rd round. Holywell Town play in the JD Cymru North League, so they're no mugs. It's the 2nd tier of the football. And they're 3rd in that league, having won 9 and drawn one of their 12 matches. So it's a long haul for Holywell. Do you know, I'm a terror for pressing and finding out how. I bet you've had a look, because I'll ask you, how far do you reckon Holywell travel?
Well, so I used to travel up to North Wales fairly regularly, and if it's about 150, depending on where you go in North Wales, 150 to 200 miles. So you're looking at between 300 and 400 miles round for them to come down and go back up again.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's 360. It's almost in the middle. You imagine driving 180 miles, then playing, then driving back, especially if you lose. And you can't bet against Hakin at all. They're a cracking side. They're just sort of people are falling by the wayside against them all the time.
Yeah. And but it's not just falling by the wayside. Hakin are proper sweeping them aside. Like, they're scoring plenty. It's not necessarily a close result. They are scoring goals prolifically.
And Scott Davis is a very level-headed young fella, and he says to me, "Stop saying I'm young." But of course, I taught him, and I still think he's 22, but he's not. But what's good is he's got a defense that isn't leaking goals. These games they win in 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. They are a cracking side. You've got to say that.
And just to put that Holywell side into context, you say it's the JD Cymru North, and of course there's the JD Cymru South. Well, to put that into context for those that Haverfordwest County in that setup, the JD Cymru North would have a team promoted up to the Premier League from that JD Cymru North. They're playing, so in the likes of our JD Cymru South, you've got Carmarthen, then you've got Llanelli, and Airbus and Pontypridd have just been promoted into the Championship. Hakin are playing sides well and above what you would expect a town team to play. It's incredible.
Sides must think, oh, blimey, we got those midgets, so-called, aren't they? The lesser ability, but they're a good side, and they've got that amazing sort of mix of competitive nature with high skill levels, and there's some good players.
It's fantastic, and even Rob Edwards, the chairman of Haverfordwest County, is tweeting saying go get them and flying the flag for Pembrokeshire. It's wonderful that we've got this, and of course you mentioned the West Wales Cup, the Penner as well, in a cup competition hopefully will progress over the weekend as well. Let's move to the other shape ball then. Let's look at rugby, and we'll start off with Championship, shall we?
Yeah, we're back with a bit of common sense because this week Championship was on last week, but we're now playing, league rugby, not that silly cup that Welsh Rugby Union insist on playing, and is a good idea according to them. Now, but they're travelling to Ystalyfera, who are bottom but one in the table. I want to sing Ystalyfera.
I do the same.
Yeah, and Narberth, should win that. They're playing really well. They're fourth in the table.
Yeah,
and you look at some of the big guns there with money aplenty behind them. And what Narberth have done is remarkable for consistency over many years. And this week they should win that and keep at least their fourth place. So well done, the Otters. They're a good side. And Sean Gale has done a great job with his assistant coaches there in utilising local players. They got Hayes Nicholas playing in the centre. He is a very talented young boy. Elan Phillips came from Crymych to play there. It's good to see. Fair play, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's he doesn't play as regularly, I don't think, but Tom Slater on the front row as well. There, I know him from old.
Tom's a cracking prop. You never hear him. He's quiet. He's unassuming. He's a tough guy, and he really is held in respect in that sort of circle because he can still do the job. He's been there for a long time now.
Long time. I'm just looking at Division 1 then, moving down the division. Llangennych v Crymych, first v second.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be an encounter, isn't it?
It is, and Crymych will go there aiming to come back with a win. Llangennych are a very, very good side. They play a lot of good rugby. They're known for open rugby. So it's a battle for the Preseli men, and we'll see how that goes. Pembroke are still struggling at the other end of the table. They're bottom, having league points. They're a side that's battling away and in adversity, really. So good luck to Pembroke. They're home to Aberystwyth. So that's 12th v 6th. And in the other game, local derby, we'll come down to that in a minute. In Division 1, Whitland are home to Llanelli Wanderers. Whitland are 10th. They haven't played, a lot of successful rugby this year. So I hope they can, restart their firing on all cylinders against Llanelli Wanderers, yeah.
That would be good. And then looking down again, we do have another Pembrokeshire clash. You've got Tenby United v Milford Haven, and of course Tenby winning plaudits. But we might want to save that until a little bit later. But they're doing well on they're doing relatively well on the pitch and off the pitch as well. Yeah,
they are. They're 6th at the moment. Now they're playing Milford Haven top. They're 10th, out of the top 6th set there. Milford traditionally do quite well in Tenby over recent years, and someone said to me we're going there with a very strong side, so that's an entertaining game. I'm tempted to go there tomorrow. It's a long haul, but it'd be well worth the trip. And in the other game, Fishguard travel to Carmarthen Athletic. Carmarthen Athletic are 11th. Fishguard are 8th, so they'd be looking for some points there. And then there's the games in Division 3, the sort of local derbies. Pembroke Dock Quinn 7th, Haverfordwest unlikely 6th. I thought they'd be a lot higher at this time of the table. They're coming back. And then in the other games, Aberaeron entertain Langham. St David's 5th. Never thought I'd say it. Well done, the Saints. And they're on to Lampeter, who are 2nd. Lampeter, I think, are the strongest side in the league with Larne. Neyland travelled to Tregaron, who are bottom, so the All Blacks will be looking for a win there. And Cardigan are at home to Llanybydder. So lots and lots of rugby, Tom. The results and scores will be on Pembrokeshire Sport, if you don't mind giving it a plug.
Yep.
And we'll have all those on tomorrow night then.
Fantastic. There's really no excuse not to watch some top-notch fixtures here in Pembrokeshire. It's wonderful. And we'll go into the small ball. We mentioned England and Wales with the T20 and getting through to the final on the weekend, but the Indoor Cricket League continues as well. The men's indoor game, how's that progressing, Bill?
Yeah, they play 10 overs, so there's always 3 games in an evening. And the Pembrokeshire Vets had a bit of a hammering this week. The A and the B team, all these old-timers running around like dervishes. In the first game, the Pembrokeshire Vets B were the stronger of the two sides. They split them, but they are the stronger side. They got smashed by Hook. When Hook started, they were like headless chickens. Now they know the game. talented quintet, led then by David Bowen, who's an older player, lots of experience, and they're all very good players. And they scored 142 for 2. That's massive.
That's
In 10
massive.
overs. Yeah. Aled Phelps had 50. His younger brother Owain had plenty of runs as well. And Pembrokeshire Vets had 86 for 2. They couldn't keep up with that runs per over pace. Carl Reid had 26. Simon Holiday had a few 25, I think. But that was a big win there for Hook. And on the night, it showed that these young teams who were just starting, the benefits, the Vets B team then played Pembroke. And that's, Pembroke played last year, but they're still relative newcomers. And Pembrokeshire Vets were 65 all out, despite 21 from my old pal Di Haynes, and lost to Pembroke 66 for 1. And James Tompkinson, a fairly new player there, was 28 not out, alongside skipper Jack Harris, who had 25. And in the last game, Burton 139 for 3. Another new team this year, Toby Heyman 36, not out. His brother Luke batted well as well. And they beat Huntledon, who were 50 all out, sadly. They lost by 89 runs. With Harry Owen, who was a good rugby player as well. He had 2 for 8, so well done to Harry. So lots of action in the men's cricket, but even more games in the women's, because they play 8 overs, so they can squeeze in 4 games a night,
Yes. I'm just going back to those scores. That 142 is massive when you consider the scoring for indoor cricket, because that 86 for 2 by the Pems Vets, that's actually a respectable score.
It's not a bad score. Yeah.
And then looking at the indoor cricket, you mentioned Sam Roster earlier on when you first joined the breakfast show. It's wonderful to see that league grow and become more competitive with newer teams as well.
Yeah, and the teams were new there. Both Pembroke teams have won a game now, so that's great. St Ishmael's have won a game. They played last year. But they're relative newcomers to cricket. A lot of them have never played cricket before. So it's a fantastic thing. Sam Roster's doing a great job. She's also doing a great job with the bat as well. Although, funnily enough, they played Criselli. Both of them, Hook and Criselli, played 8-1-8, so something had to give. But sadly, Hook only had 5 players because one of their players had to stay and work. That was unavoidable, so they played with 5 players in the top of the table class. Inevitable result, Criselli 96 for 1. Ava Midgley, she's a talented young player, she had 26. And our old friend who's been on the show, Fionn Ashman, well-known goalkeeper as well. She'll play any sport, she loves it. She had 26 as well, and Hook was 69 for 2, of which Sam Roster 30 not out. Wow. In the second game then, Burton surprisingly bowled out for 34. Now, they're normally in the top 3 in the division. 34 for 6, and Olivia James had 21 of them. So that shows how much they struggle. And Criselli just strolled through 37 for 2. Ava Midgley then 17 not out in that one as well. So well done, Ava. She's a teenager and is going great guns. And then Hook at full strength at 71 for 5. Sam Roster 36 not out. Beat Tish 23 for 6. Now, for St Ishmael's, they're a nice little side and they're a great crowd of girls, but 5 of them got run out. So that shows, how hard it is. It's the running between the wickets that they bat well, but they've got to develop that. And Johnny Lewis, their coach, Johnny Bapp, as he's known to all, he must have had a word with them because they nearly caused an upset in the last game. They restricted Burton to 66 for 2, where Finola Scale had 26 and Olivia James 23. And Tish were 62 all out in the last over. Rachel Maguire had 24. Batting number 6 nearly won the game for them. But they fell just short off the last ball when Rachel was run out. But cracking game of cricket. And Sam tells me there was great camaraderie. They all stayed to cheer each other on, like with Pembroke and Pembroke Dock. Loads of people come from the club to watch them on the night. So, yeah, it's a very flourishing league. So it's great to see. Yeah,
that is great to see. And just quickly, but before we go, we've already mentioned Tenby taking on Milford in the rugby, but they've had some high praise over this last week, haven't they?
Yeah, they played at Pontedilles last week. They lost narrowly, and the Bont are a hard-headed bunch, but they had tweeted in the week to say thank you to Tenby, because when they went to clean the changing rooms and they expected to be covered in mud and bits everywhere, drink bottles, it was in immaculate condition. And that's because Tenby have adopted a policy this year. Jonathan Evans is a talented young coach, supported by 2 old heads. in Andy Barlow and a very old head in Ozzy Boswell, who's a lovely boy, but I remember him in shorts in Pembroke Grammar School. They have a policy this year where 2 players on rota pick up the kit, collect the kit there, take it back, having signed for the fact that they've got everything there, the shirts, the shorts, the socks, because players are a bit forgetful and they wear them in the garden then, don't they? But they also 2 people each week take it in turns to sweep down and hose down the change rooms. And the bond has signalled to say thank you for that. It was picked up by Phil Steele of BBC fame, a good friend of both of ours, and he'd retweeted that as well. But isn't it nice to see a club getting praise for that? I've seen some change rooms, Tom, football and rugby, and think, oh my God, why don't you just put it in the bin that's in the room? But they do it well. So well done to Tenby United, and thanks to the Bond for recognising it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And rugby, well, all sport is fundamentally about respect as well. Respect of the competition, respect of your teammates, respect of your competitors, and to look after your changing room. Hopefully, it will be returned on favour. It just means that the facilities stay better for the future generations to carry on playing. So it's a big thumbs up from me. Bill, what's going to be? You mentioned that you might head down to Tenby for the weekend. What other will you be watching? Any other sport on TV or in person?
Oh, I'd be watching the England cricket final. I mean, Alex Hales and Josh Butler were amazing yesterday. So when we go now, I'm going to watch the highlights of that because I was up with my grandson Llewellyn yesterday, and Sod's Law, they've got BT Sport, not Sky Sport, so I missed that, but I kept tabs on it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's either have Tenby or Pembroke Quins I'll go to this week, local derby there with Bradford West. And just a quick mention, Tom, the Sports Awards, the finalists have been announced.
Yes.
I just want to say one thing with that. It's a great night, and it's only a fortnight away now. So I'm already getting goosebumps thinking about walking out on stage and announcing some of the wonderful people in Pembrokeshire sport, but I am very mindful. There's 186 nominations. So there'll be a lot of people, well over 140, who will not be on the stage picking up a prize. But I have to say to them, from the bottom of my heart, well done for being nominated. That's something I think they should remember. And I think whoever's nominated them not get disheartened, but say I'm going to nominate them again next year if they're doing well, because that's what it's all about. And, congratulations to the people who are going to pick up an award, because it's the first 3 and there's a winner and 2 runners-up, and they'll have lovely trophies. But the others, you can give yourself a pat on the back. I say that from the bottom of my heart. Well done to everybody.
Definitely. And we started off this segment by talking about the breadth of sport and the talent, but also the passion and enthusiasm, which is what the Pembrokeshire Awards are all about. Thank you, Bill, for saying that. And yeah, it's 2 weeks away. I'm very excited. I'm going to be there as well for my first time. Bill, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's 7:30. It is Friday, and we always look forward to your song choice. What have you gone for today?
Well, I've gone closer to home today because this singer and I went to the same junior school, Woodrow Junior Mixed in Treforest, although he was there 7 years before me. And I used to tell the kids when he was at his pomp, when he was a younger fella, I'd say in school, I used to go to the same school as Tom, but he's 7 years older than me. They'd say, get off, you're a lot older than him, sir, which I resented like mad, but I always smiled deep into it. And it's Tom Jones, and he's made some wonderful songs right the way back to It's Not Unusual. Delilah is my wife's big favourite, but my favourite is this one. It's called Help Yourself. And it really is, I think, a sing-along song. I'll sing along with that now when you play it. And so Help Yourself, Tom Jones.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bill. You're listening to Pure West Radio at 7:31 on Friday, the 11th of November.
Eaton Evans and Morris is a client-focused